Amid ongoing free agency uncertainty comes one more team to the Bryce Harper mix. According to a report from NBC Sports Bay Area, members of the San Francisco Giants front office met with Bryce Harper this week in Las Vegas. The Giants sent Farhan Zaidi, their president of baseball operations, CEO Larry Baer and manager Bruce Bochy to Las Vegas to meet Tuesday with Harper, his wife Kayla, and agent Scott Boras, according to the report. Harper has not announced his home for the 2019 season with less than a week until pitchers and catchers report for spring training. He reportedly turned down at least $300 million from the Nationals earlier this year. One source familiar with discussions said the chase for Harper was a long shot. From NBC Sports Bay Area, the Giants had quietly targeted Harper over the past couple of years, but they underwent a shift in strategy when Zaidi was hired in November. The new plan was to overhaul the roster incrementally and add to the existing core, but Zaidi is known to be opportunistic, and if Harper's price truly has dropped, the Giants could find a more suitable deal. Although they have been out of the headlines, they never eliminated Harper as an option. It's unclear, of course, if the end price ultimately would be any lower than expected. Harper and Boras went into this offseason hoping to set records, but they have found a market lacking big-market suitors. The Phillies and the White Sox have been connected to Harper throughout the offseason, and at several points, it seemed he was close to joining Philadelphia, with the Nationals thought to be always on the periphery. Harper has also been connected to the Phillies and Padres and a return to the Nationals in the past month. Read more at NBC Sports Bay Area. More Nationals news: designated hitter coming to the National League, minimum number of hitters for a pitcher to face, clocks and mound visits and more. The annual disbursement of possible rule changes landed this week. Multiple reports outlined the ideas being discussed by Major League Baseball and the Players Union. Some are small, some significant, all discussed on the latest Racing President podcast. Two major suggestions came from the reports: make the designated hitter universal starting in 2019, force pitchers to face a three-batter minimum. Let's tackle the DH issue first. The American League adopted this rule in 1973. The NL has held on to pitchers hitting, adding more strategy, and less offense, to the game since then. This is not the first push for both leagues to play with the DH. Altering the National League, and doing so in a way that flushes a type of baseball for good, is one part of the discussion. The other is the possible immediacy of the change. A week before spring training would be an unfair time to push the DH into the National League. Team rosters are in place, for the most part. Players signed contracts based on being part of a platoon as opposed to a full-time DH. Think of Matt Adams. His value would rise if he could be a DH. Here, he would be stuck until next season because a rule change came in February and not November. Forcing pitchers to face a minimum of 3 hitters would reduce in-game changes. That, presumably, speeds the action of the game up. It also hinders strategy for the manager of the pitching team. He can't counter the opposition's counter if forced to keep a specific pitcher in the game. Of note here, as both proposals are geared to boost offense. Pitchers, who hit a combined .115 last season, would be replaced by resident thumpers. High-octane bullpens would be challenged in both workload and advantage if pitchers were forced to face a minimum of 3 batters. Other proposed ideas include reducing mound visits, and expansion of rosters from 25 to 26 in 2020, with an accompanying reduction from 40 to 28 in September, increasing the minimum time a player spends on the disabled list, a rule that was changed in 2016 when the DL dropped from 15 days to 10, and increasing the minimum time an option player stays in the minor leagues. The previous change to the disabled list caused teams to place more players on it, in turn rotating the middle relief of their pitching staff along with available players from the minor leagues. Forcing an option player to remain longer in the minors, as well as increasing the minimum time a player can spend on the DL, should reduce manipulation of that process. Baseball's main question is how much impact any of this would really have. The league and its players want to increase the speed of inaction in games. They want to be more relatable to younger generations, in order to counter recent attendance slippage. They also want to modernize everything involved within and outside of the game in a pulsating digital society. Will these proposals do any of that? The racing president's crew isn't so sure. Take a listen. Despite all the off-season hole plugging, the Nationals needed more starting pitching depth. They did not have enough at the major league level. They did not have enough at the minor league level. Washington provided aid to that issue Wednesday by re-signing right-handed starter Jeremy Hellickson to a one-year deal, NBC Sports Washington confirmed. The contract is reportedly worth $1.3 million. He, at a minimum, adds competition in spring training and support for the expected limited innings of Anibal Sanchez and Joe Ross at the back end of the rotation. Hellickson could also flatly claim the fifth spot. Hellickson made 19 starts last season for the Nationals when their rotation thinned because of injuries and underperformance. Steven Strasburg was hurt, again. The fifth starter spot remained in flux much of the season, causing further complications. Up came Hellickson from the minor leagues once the A.J. Cole experiment was deemed a failure. Hellickson's contribution, though limited in innings per outing, was a needed one. He finished with a 3.45 ERA and 1.073 WHIP. He often did not face the opposition a third time through the order. That increased the load on an already burdened bullpen throughout the season. Hellickson pitched into the seventh inning once in 2018. He pitched 5 innings or less 10 times. Hellickson, 31, also does not miss a lot of bats. He relies on outs via balls put into play, something reflected in his 65 strikeouts in 91 and a third innings last season. This approach always puts him on the cusp of danger. 2 injuries slowed him last season, one to his hamstring and another to his wrist. As is standard, Hellickson's contract is dependent on him passing a physical first. The deal also forces the Nationals to remove a player from their currently full 40-man roster. That happens once Hellickson's deal is official. Combined with Sanchez and Ross, the latter of which is still being monitored following Tommy John surgery in 2017, Hellickson allows the Nationals to find a path to the innings they lost by trading Tanner Roark. Eric Feta also remains in the mix for possible starts. The team will likely mix and match from that 4-pitcher group to fill out the roughly 50 starts needed from the 4th and 5th spots combined in the rotation. Sanchez and Hellickson combined for 44 starts last season. Nationals president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo remade his starting rotation this offseason while also harping the importance of its performance. The top 2 remained annual Cy Young candidate Max Scherzer and annual What If Strasburg. The Nationals provided left-handed Patrick Corbin what stands as by far the largest contract, 6 years, $140 million, for the offseason to this point. They sent Roark to Cincinnati for a Triple-A reliever, Tanner Rainey, and signed Sanchez to replace him. The 5th spot was always expected to be a tussle between Ross and Feta. Now, Hellickson is in a week before the Hurlers arrive in West Palm Beach, Florida, for spring training. More Nationals news.